Hey, welcome back, you bums. Check it out, it's Scott here, and I have a new list to analyze for you. It's a second place list at LVO. It's by Andrew Stormcrutch Stanford, and he is a two-time winner of the Age of Sigmar game at LVO. So I think he'd be a good pick, and he does like to play Stormcast Eternals. He's done it before. He did it with Vanguard Wing last time. This time, obviously, Vanguard Wing is no longer a thing. So he takes out all the stops and he uses everything he could possibly put into the Stormcast Eternals list. A few things we know about Stormcast Eternals is that there 18 lists showed up. It's the most shown faction. And there are some pretty interesting notes about his particular list. A lot of these lists are kind of similar, but his, I think, is fairly unique when it comes to all the Stormcast lists, even though some of them might be similar. Now, I have my phone out with the app, so we're going to look here really quick from top to bottom what he's got in this list, what it is, and then we're going to analyze how it works together and just how he got as far as he did with the list, at least. Now you can see my other videos on how he may have gotten through the tournament with the special tournament rules, and I would encourage you to look at that so you have a better understanding of what's going on. Now, from the top to bottom, we have Mortal Realm of Gur. That Gur Mortal Realm is going to allow him to take the artifact Shard Fist Pelt, and you're going to see what that does. It's pretty good. And then it's also going to allow his spellcasters, which he has 2 of them, to have availability on the Gur spells, along with their Stormcast Eternal spells, like Azurite Halo and Celestial Blades, along with the realm spells each round that are new, depending on what realm you're playing in for that round. So we have the Realm of Gur. Now he's not playing with, I guess, the sub-faction. There has a special, what do you call it? Whatever it's called. So if I click on Battle Host or Storm Host, he doesn't have any particular Storm Host. And that actually drastically reduces the amount of rules, additional positive rules that he could bring in his army. And you're like, well, why would he do that? Noob move? No, it's actually pretty ingenious. If he picked one of those storm hosts, his Lord Celestin on Star Drake would not have been able to take the command trait Staunch Defender. Staunch Defender is everybody wholly within, 10 inches gets +1 to their armor saves. Okay, so this Star Drake is going to get +1 to its armor save, and at least during the first turn or when other units are nearby, they will also benefit from Staunch Defender. So that's why he didn't take it. It's pretty ingenious. And he just thought Staunch Defender is better than everything combined in any other Storm host. So a lot of people would pick Hammers of Sigmar or whatever like that, and he didn't pick any, just blank. Staunch Defender, that good. So next he has got the Celestine Hammer. That's what he chose to bring on the Star Drake versus his other weapons. He could have brought here a Stormbound Blade, but he chose the Celestial Hammer. It's 3 attacks, 3 hit, 2 to wound, -1 rend for D3 damage apiece. And the Celestine Hammer also has a special ability that when you charge, you add D3 to the attack's characteristic. So if it made a charge in the same turn. So you get 3 plus D3. Not too bad. Next is the Shard Fist Pelt. So that pelt is going to give him... Let's see, let's pull it up. Each time you make a save roll of 6+ for the bear in the combat phase, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all its attacks have been made. Now it's the combat phase, so shooting attacks won't throw damage back. And remember, the Lord Celestin on Star Drake also has the special shield. Let's pull that up here. The Sigmarite Thunder Shield, you can reroll saves of 1 for attacks that target this model. So it's going to have a 2-up save for rolling 1s. Obviously, Rend will make it a smaller save. you still reroll those ones, and each enemy unit within 3 inches of this model suffers 1 mortal wound. So when you reroll those ones, and it's a successful save, it'll do a mortal wound to every enemy unit within 3 inches. It's pretty good. Next is Keen Clawed that his mount has. It says, if the unmodified wound roll for an attack made with this mount's melee weapon is 6, that attack has a rend characteristic of -3. So basically that's going to be the Great Claws. It's 4 attacks. Its attack can degrade, but it starts off on a 3+. 3 is the wound, -1 damage for D3, -1 rend for D3 damage. So that's going to be pretty good for his claws being extra killy. That's going to be -3 rend. It's not an additional -3, so it's not going to be -4. It's just going to be normal -3. Then we have the Lord Castellant. That's going to give a further +1 save to anything we point Lord Castellant's ability at, and he also kind of hits pretty well. He hits okay. 2 damage apiece, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, and I believe 3 attacks. 3 or 4 attacks. Next up is the Knight Incantor. He's got 2 of those as his wizards. Now, every list that does well seems to have wizards. It's because, look, every Knight Incantor is going to know all those extra spells. He's going to know all the all the Gur spells, all the realm spells, on top of the Azurite Halo and Celestial Blades. So let me pull up the Knight Incantor. It has Spirit Flasks, so basically he can turn into a kamikaze. If he's surrounded by enemies, he can drink 1, 2, or 3 Spirit Flasks, and every enemy around him will take that much damage, including himself. Well, every unit around him will take that much damage. So if he gets surrounded, he just blows up, and then everything around him takes damage. It's pretty nice. He can attempt to cast 1 spell, and his built-in spell is Arcane Bolt, Mystic Shield, and Spirit Storm. Spirit Storm reads, cast value of 7. Each enemy unit within 18 of the caster suffers 1 mortal wound. In addition to your next hero phase, subtract 1 from the run and charge rolls for enemy units while they are within 18 inches of the caster. That's pretty good. It's very good to control the speed of enemy units. They can't get to objectives when they want to. That's one of the reasons why Flesh-Eater Courts did so well. Now, Andrew did say he lost because he set his models up pretty wrong in the deployment phase. Yes, this list could have defeated that the Flesh-Eater Court list, but it's a hard matchup regardless of what you're doing. It really is. So we have to take that to a grain of salt. Now he's saying he could have won. I mean, sure, he could have won. And like most tournaments, if and that he could have won. If the best player for Stormcast tournaments couldn't do it, then can most other tournament players do it? I hope so, but in a lot of cases, you got to be realistic here. That may not be the case. So it's already an uphill battle, and if you make one little mistake, you're gonna die, right? Flesh-Eater Courts is pretty powerful. The Azurite Halo. We can go over that really quick. Where is it? Azurite Halo, casting value of 5. Pick a friendly Stormcast unit wholly within 12, and that's visible. Enter your next hero phase. Each time you make an unmodified save roll of 6 for that unit, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all its attacks have been resolved. So that's another thing you can stick on your Lord Celestion on Star Trek. Now again, you can put some abilities on your blob of Sequitors and make them pretty nasty too. Lord Castellan can go onto the Sequitors, and then they can get the Shield of Thorns, or Azurite Halo as the kids call it these days apparently. So it's just like every time. So if you put it all on the Lord Celestion Star Drake, every time he saves something, say if he rolls a 1 then re-rolls it, you're gonna take 3 mortal wounds, right? It's pretty good. So a lot of this list is sort of kamikaze. You know, that Incantor can be thrown in somewhere. Kamikaze. Lord Celestion Star Drake, not really a kamikaze, but kinda is. He's just a big bomb that goes into a blob of stuff, and then everything around him just dies, right? On top of him just killing stuff. And he's got a global ability that rains comets down, and it's very strong. A Lord Celestion Star Drake could easily defeat a Ghoul King on Zombie Dragon. I mean, it's 1 Lord Celestion Star Drake versus 2 Zombie Dragons and a Terror Guy, or two Terror Guys and 1 zombie dragon, but the Star Drake could win that. It honestly could, just because he's got his saves are nearly impervious, and just gets even better. On top of being able to, every time he takes damage, he deals it right back, and like 16 wounds, something ridiculous like that. 16 wounds with a 9 bravery. So those bravery attacks aren't going to do so well. So, if like the zombie dragon, it's like roll a die, add +6. The difference, he takes mortal wounds. Well, on bravery 9, you're going to have to roll at least a 4, and that 4 only gets you 1 mortal wound. Next up is Knight Heraldor. Knight Heraldor helps you control the battlefield, or lets you place your units better. You can run and charge, and it's also a way to do mortal wounds. A lot of players these days have scenery that they get to set up. Sylvaneth has the woods. Iden of Deakin has the ship. So the Knight Heraldor can toot his little horn at that scenery piece, and everything within a certain range will take D3 mortal wounds. So for 100 points, that is absolutely insane. And then having one of your units run and charge, like Lord Celestin Star Drake now gets to run and charge. It's pretty sick. And the move characteristic on Celestin is 12 inches healed, right? 2 units Adjudicators, that's just average battle line. That the Adjudicators, they hang out on your own objectives while shooting at your opponents. And then the Liberators, they go run towards another of your opponent's objective. Or if there's a lot of objectives, you can stay on another home objective. So the Adjudicators do that, and then the Liberators hang back, and the Liberators go try and take the other objective, supported by the Adjudicators with the bows. Of course, it's got a Grand Hammer. Now the Secretors, they take the maximum amount of Storm Smite Great Maces, and also he's, instead of having the hammers, he's taking the blades, which is interesting. So we see a lot of hammers, but this guy took the blades. And the reason he does that is that the blades has 3 attacks versus the hammers 2 attacks. And then the Celestial Blades from the Knight Incantor will give a +1 to wound. So you can give that +1 to wound to the Star Drake, or you can give it to the Sequitors. So it brings them back to a 3 and 3, no Ren for 1 damage, but it's 3 attacks apiece. Okay, so, and it's also going to buff this Great Mace as well, too, just because. So it's going to make all that really, really good, very strong and powerful. That Sequitur block, very strong. The only issue that I have with large blobs of units, especially instead of having like 3 large blobs, he's only got 1 large blob. That's it's really good at taking a point, but it can get hit by an opposing Geminids of Olgish. But again, it's a very powerful blob, and if you can stop debuffs from happening to your Sequitors, the Sequitors become very, very killy and very, very hard to kill. So very, very hard to kill. And these abilities to buff his guys, he can buff the units that need it most, right? So he can hit you hard where you're soft, or he can reinforce a push on your end, right? And then lastly, but not least, the Everblaze Comet. Let me pull that up right here. It is not a predatory spell, so when you cast it, it's going to go right where it goes. You're going to throw this on a battle area where models are going to be hanging out for a while, maybe to support the Lord Celestin Star Drake, or destroy a unit that's trying to hang out on a point. Basically, you summon it, cast value 6, successfully cast, set it up wholly within 36 inches of the caster, so you have a huge range of that. After this model is set up, roll a dice for each unit within 10 inches of the model. On a 1 to 2, it suffers 1 mortal wound, so it's got a huge range. Each unit within 10 inches, so it can hit your own stuff too as well. Keep that in mind. On a 3 to 4, it suffers D3. On a 5 to 6, it suffers 3. In addition, at the start of each battle round, roll a dice for each unit within 5 inches of the model. On a 1 to 3, it suffers 1 mortal wound. On a 4 to 6, it suffers D3. So it's a huge splash zone, and then it has a smaller splash zone. And also, subtract 1 from casting rolls for wizards that are within 5 inches of this model. So you can throw it on your enemy wizards. And you can combine that with the Lord Celestin that's going to reduce your opponent's casting rolls. And that's insane. So, again, that is the analyzation. Wizards, denying your opponent's wizards, and having a guy that your opponent almost can't kill It's basically all the good things in a giant blob. So it hits every good point, and that's it. So thanks for watching, you bums.